Hello, everybody, and welcome to another exclusive and transformative episode with our very special guest and our inspiring host of Exponential Potential, Claire Oatway.
Whee! I bring my own applause.
Yeah. Woohoo! We are diving deep today, and we're talking about stripping back the layers. Um, so unlocking potential and the power of perspective.
Mm,
So we're going to go on a journey of discovering how a simple shift in perspective can truly revolutionize your personal and professional life. And I love when people shift perspective. It's
yeah,
just so I can't wait to dive deep into this, Claire. It is incredibly transformative. And I know we say that a lot, but changing perspective is so transformative. So we're going to be sharing and talking to you about the art of perspective shifting because it's not always easy to do. Meditative and contemplative practices, how to face and overcome fears. We're going to be touching on personal growth and empowerment, creating balance and joy, and some stories of transformation. So
mm,
it's the juicy episode we've got lined up. Wow,
for
excited.
sure. For sure.
So let's just dive straight on in because there's a lot to cover. Um, so, can you share a pivotal moment in your life when a change of perspective led you to significant personal or professional growth? And how did that shift in viewpoint impact your journey?
Yeah, I mean, to make sense of that question, it's probably helpful to frame what perspective is and where it comes from, because the story that I'm going to tell, you'll be like, Claire, that's blimmin' what? It doesn't make sense. That's nonsense. But as one of the consequences of us as a human species making sense and making meaning of the world around us, as we start to understand patterns around safety and rewards, so our belief systems layer up and layer up. And that's something we've talked about time and time again. But the story that I want to share is one from my my younger years, within the corporate environment, and I'd already been recognized in terms of my potential, in terms of my ability, and I'd been promoted a few times, but I still didn't feel I was as good as other people around me. I still didn't feel that I was good enough. Um, and that led to me being quite hyper alert, expecting someone to provide negative feedback or say things behind my back, or expecting to be dismissed, or just adding all of this pressure that wasn't really there. But one of the nubs of it had been, it's ridiculous when you say it out loud, but one of the reasons why I didn't feel I was as good as other people is that I had this projection about what other people were like, and that they were more intellectual, more intelligent, more classy than I am. And honestly, at the root of it, it was because they like period dramas and I like Fast and Furious. And so in my head, I'd equated liking action movies as, as a person who, just didn't like intellectual rigor, had a lack of patience, was easily stimulated and distracted, and, not fit to be a senior leader. But you could go, when you say it out loud, that just sounds like absolute nonsense. But the role models that I was seeing around me, they would talk about, the modern day, I suppose modern day equivalent would be Bridgerton, and kind of those bits, and you'd imagine reading Jane Austen. It's like that. I just was not that kind of reader. I didn't read much in school. I love stories, but I didn't read much. I was more into films and much more, as I say, into action and adrenaline, and growing up in like a boy situation as well. And so at the stem of why I didn't feel as good as my peers. It wasn't in terms of the skills that we brought or the kind of the reasoning ability. It was because I didn't think I was as posh and accomplished as these others because I didn't like period drama.
Interesting.
Yeah,
A-
isn't
And
it?
it is. That's really interesting. And it's a very common issue though, isn't it, in terms of when we compare ourselves to others, and we always have not always, but we have a perception that somebody else is better than us because of fill in the blank.
Yeah.
So it is a really, really common problem. And what's interesting is those other people will probably be feeling the same about you. Well, I'm not as great. I'm not as good as Claire. I'm not as intellectual. I'm not as special. I can't do what Claire does because do fill in the blank.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it is a very common thought process.
For sure, and it's a complex one in a way that you could probably fill 45 minutes on that belief because it was attached to the fact that I had two burly brothers and we spent a lot of time playing. It was also attached to my class background as well. My it wasn't attached to my education because I went to an all girls grammar school, so that was there. But as I'd been through schooling, I knew that I wasn't the same as one of my classmates who had 7 horses, for example. That was just not us.
Mhm.
Um, and again, you you then start adding judgments to it all the time, and so even though I'd had the title and had the positional authority, I still didn't feel like it was deserved. Which really kind of then creates this, as I mentioned, a hyper alert state, but also this stress to demonstrate time and time again that you are, you do deserve it. You do deserve. I deserve to be at the table. And look at all the 10 billion ways that I do, consciously adjusting my language, so that I felt that I could fit in more. And times have moved a fair bit, but some of those but actually some of those initial perceptions still stand among different people. They will make judgments either way. I think what shifted was, at that time I'd actually been going through a little bit of therapy because I was just so stressed by the whole situation and by trying and trying and trying and trying. I was not living a fulfilled work life or at times a home life. And actually, that helped me at that time to consciously work out this was a perspective that I could shift. And you say it when you actually break it down, it's nonsense. Your movie choice has nothing to do with your ability to do your job.
No.
It's just unless you're a critic. But actually, even if you're a critic, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, and I think I've had similar experiences with um, not feeling intelligent enough, and that goes to being a girl. Unfortunately,
But I mean,
we're not clever
mm,
enough to make our own decisions. We have to check in with people or seek approval. Oh, is that okay? Seek permission. Is that okay? It's that whole because I'm a girl thing.
yeah,
Because
yeah.
we were taught how to live our lives for so many hundreds of years in the Western world. It's difficult to, and we see the biggest thing for me is actually was seeing the men around me doing the same job and getting paid more. Never ever understood that. It's like, well, why are they more intelligent? They must be better than me. It must be, so it's so entangled, isn't it?
For sure, for sure. Whichever bias you introduce, because in a way, I mean, we're both white, so we can only talk of observations. But from
Hmm.
an ethnic minority background, I've described growing up in a more deprived neighbourhood, or being the relative of a convict, of a ex-prisoner. Kind of a lot of these labels, stick to you and think, oh no, that makes me somehow a worse person. When when you realise that actually that you don't have to hold on to that perspective. You can choose to shift that perspective and be more loving, be more kind and accepting to yourself. And in this instance, it actually opened me up to be a much more authentic leader because I was able to talk about Fast and Furious. Disgusting, but it meant that I was bringing my whole self to work, and it meant I created space for others around me to do the same, rather than to follow a particular doctrine of Pride and Prejudice.
And you often talk about the importance of mindfulness and meditation. So how did those practices help shifting perspective and deepening your understanding of yourself and your surroundings?
That's a that's an excellent question, and there again are many layers to that. But we, in terms of meditation, in terms of creating a calm mind, you're you're creating a stillness that allows you to detach enough from the chaos around you, from the noise that your head's bringing, and when you kind of silence some of those voices, when you go back into it, you can almost choose how loud they're going to be, or you've got a chance, you've got a reprieve, and you're reminded that it is actually a voice, it is actually a kind of message. And and again, when you realize that um, that's a thought process, that's a belief, you can start to determine how much you attach to it or don't attach to it. And similarly, in terms of mindfulness, so meditation, I see meditation as a practice of mindfulness, and mindfulness has a variety of tools with it, whether that be in nature or whether that be through yoga and embodiment practice, whether it be contemplation. And sometimes contemplation or even journaling allows you to create the space to call out your own BS, and start to identify, what it is that is causing misalignment, um, how you're reacting, what it is that you're reacting to, so that you can start to go a little bit deeper and then shape whether or not you want to respond. And in the past, when we've talked about areas such as the saboteur behaviors and the positive intelligence PQ mindset, you are able throughout the day to bring in these micro moments of mindfulness that just recenter you, rather than being led by the ego mind that's driving you to act in a particular way, to be safe in a particular way. You get a chance to just recenter during the day and then go back. And over time, that weakens the automatic behavior and allows you to be much more conscious in your style, in your approach.
Yeah, I think what you're saying about being it that meditation and mindfulness just allows you the space and the peace to become more conscious, to become more aware of actually how you're behaving, how you're reacting, and and looking at things like, well, they must be better than me because I like action movies and not period dramas. And so you recognizing without judgment, but you're recognizing the absurdity of some of your perspectives.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
and I want to just touch on. I'm sure we'll cover more techniques as we go forward, but I
Mhm.
want to touch on some of the emerging neuroscience that's coming out either through neurobiology or neurochemistry, and so on. But they're starting to see that when people move into embodiment styles, when they move into embodiment practices, the way that their brain acts shifts, and it helps them to connect to other parts of nature or other people because they're closer to connection in themselves. So they're starting to highlight this evidence, and so, for example, many people with stillness could perhaps zone into listening to their heartbeat without touching your heart. Listen to your heartbeat and or feel your heartbeat in your chest for 10 seconds. And there's a pretty there's a pretty certain test, not completely certain, but there's a pretty certain test that psychopaths just can't do that. They cannot hear their own heartbeat. And by, through extrapolation, um, it's because well, at the same time, it's probably correlation rather than causation. But they can't relate to other people in the classical sense of psychopaths, as opposed to horror movie psychopath. So before you start worrying about your partner, yeah.
Yeah. So yes, test that to check in whether you're a psychopath or not. Top tip today. But
Can you?
I just want you to touch on embodiment as well, because not everybody understands what that is. Um, embodiment practices, or what is an embodiment practice? What is embodiment?
Mm. I mean, and that's a good challenge because at times I've used the term embodiment to move out of my body into somebody else's body. So yeah, that's a good challenge. What I mean in this instance are any practices that bring you closer to your sensory experience and your body. So listening in closely to your heartbeat. It could be feeling your feet on the floor and the air between the feet and the floor. It could be a taste sensation that you experience. It could be yoga, and some of the stretches that you do through yoga really do bring you back into your body. But that is a mindfulness technique that allows you to switch off or dim down some of the automatic thinking that goes on and the negative thinking at times.
And I just want to add, in terms of embodiment, just to take it a little bit deeper. Um, so a really good guided audio guided meditation, depending on what you want to call it, like, which actually activates you on a cellular level,
Yeah.
um reminding you of you feeling sensations. You actually get right into your body and listen. As you say, you use your senses, and you listen and tune into that voice and what they're saying. And you don't intellectualize what they're saying. You just allow yourself to absorb that, and your cells will make an actual shift. So it's a biological shift in the body. So it takes you into a really deep version of embodiment. So you're embodying what you're hearing. So you can never unlearn that, because it's shifted within your body at a cellular level.
Abs- yes, completely. And I'm so glad that you brought that up because for so many people, they feel they can't meditate because they can't create this empty void. Either that they don't want to be alone with their thoughts, or they're often very judgmental about the fact that thoughts come in and out. And we are. That's what makes us different as a species is that we do have thoughts coming in and out, and even great meditators still have that happen. It's natural in terms of consciousness. Over time, you lessen it, but you don't completely eradicate it. So it's almost let go of the judgment of how you are. Just trust the process of being still and being present is
Yes.
restoring you.
Yes, yes. And I think every conversation I have with people that haven't, or have only tried meditation a couple of times, or maybe a handful of times, and they give up, and I can't meditate, I can't do it. But I just want to point out that nobody can do it at the start. And we have an expectation that, as you said, meditation is where we have a completely still mind. Well, the human brain doesn't work that way. And it is impossible, unless you're a Buddhist monk that started practicing meditation at the age of 3. It's impossible to have your brain completely empty of thought. So it's finding the right type of meditation practice for you. And by tuning into somebody else's words or music, or being actually active in meditation by walking, and just noticing when those thoughts start coming in, just consciously observe, let them be, and bring yourself back without, as you said, without the judgment of, oh my God, I'm thinking again. Oh, I wish those thoughts would shut up. It's no, it's okay. That's okay to have a thought. That's normal and natural. That's the way my brain works. And I just want to bring it back and listen to the person that's talking, or listen to the music, or feel sensations around me, whatever it might be.
Well, a body scan. So again, kind of a guided meditation that takes you through a body scan from your toes to your head, really slowly, really intentionally. I'm just pulling, this is my AirPod box, right? I'm going to pretend that this is a meditation palm stone. It's not, but actually, who says that it can't be a prop that you've got? And you kind of can hold it and then feel the weight, and then just even 5, 10 seconds, 30 seconds, really intently focusing on that. It allows your body to regulate. Allows you to be so focused that the active mind becomes quieter. And what they're finding, that areas such as creativity, kind of sage behaviors and compassion, they work when the the direct mind calms. It creates space for them. So you can recreate these micro moments with anything. A pen. Feel the pen. Feel this has got writing on it. So feel every single little bit of writing there. It's like, is it hot? Is it cold? Is it hard? Is it soft? Does it feel the same there? Is it just there? And you've got the ability, the power to create that state whenever, wherever you are.
Love that.
But
Yes.
and sorry, we're not. It's not that we're saying there's no space for 10-day meditation silent retreats or 3-year silent retreats. They're not necessarily going to equip you for everyday life.
Yeah.
And when you're experiencing everyday life, you can't go, stop, hang on a second. I need to go and find my meditation cushion in order to come back. You just can't. You get caught in the loop.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah. I love that with a pet, with any object. In fact, with a glass of water, with anything,
yeah.
it's
Well, with a glass of water, I mean,
mm,
kind of one of the things you can do is you can infuse the water with positive intent, and I'm sure that's something that you do regularly. But you can kind of, feel love and just project love to the water. It's like, oh, or be grateful to the water that's there, but be present, be still with that prop, and let it do its work.
yeah. And I think that's all meditation is being present. And yet we've talked about meditation in terms of there's many, many levels of meditation and many different ways to do it. But it basically means being present in that moment. And
Mm.
all we all have that ability. Would you agree with that, Claire? Is that we all have
Yeah,
that ability?
we
Even
do, when we embrace the range of styles that are available, when we give ourselves permission to,
mm,
I'd say.
yeah, yeah. No, yeah, I think hopefully that gives some people different insight into meditation on a deeper level, on a having a different perspective on meditation.
So, this episode's going out in August, and there'll be many people that are listening. They might be about to go on holiday. Just sit on the bench somewhere, sit by the pool, and listen. Listen to what's going on, or try to capture that moment and what's there, so that when you're back at your desk, or when it's gloomy in the middle of winter, you can go back, you can recreate that, but just capture that moment in time and be right there. I think many people can do that. And then Similarly, one of the words that people get caught up on is visualize. Visualize. Let's swap the word visualize for imagine. Imagine. People feel freer. But it's almost like at times when you bring through spiritual terms, people raise the bar so high that they don't feel that they can.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Because I use the word visualize a lot, and it kind of, when as you were saying that, it feels like it could put pressure on people
Well, it
because it's
it
again,
can.
I can't do it. I can't visualize. I can't. That's yeah. Yeah. That's a really good tip actually around imagination.
Well, you learn and stick around the visualization bit when you start to explore the different clair senses of clairvoyance, of clairsentience, clairaudience. Those are different ways that messages come into your brain, whether you hear them, whether you just know them, whether you can imagine and actually see an image in your mind's eye or see patterns in your mind's eye. But the narrative around that kind of says not everybody sees a very strong image or a very strong use of color. In fact, then there could be some really brilliant people that only hear messages or just understand and know that they're there. That's that's probably going off tangent in terms of intuitive and psychic abilities, but we are all wired differently, and we all act differently. We have different
Mm,
gifts. So
mm.
you take the pressure off. You don't need it.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So your approach integrates philosophical elements. How can adopting a philosophical mindset assist individuals in navigating life challenges and unlocking potential?
Um, so around the philosophical elements, that's it's trying to bring in an extra frame, as it were, to allow detachment. And we all know what it's like on a day-to-day basis. We are really present with the noise and the chatter and the demands and the stress and the interactions, and we're really in it. Whereas a philosophical element allows you a little bit more distance. So for example, I'm wearing my glasses here, and I'm living life. I see through my glasses. That's where they are. I don't necessarily know that I'm wearing glasses, but I can take my glasses off and see, this glasses. This is a different frame. And it calms you down because it kind of suggests that you don't have to be stuck in a react, or when you see the glasses further away, there could be a different angle, a different approach, different set of glasses that you could use. But very often, when you're very active, you forget that you have that power to stand back. And when I talk about philosophical elements, there's elements around stoicism, around kind of uh, trying not to attach. Some of the Buddhist principles about attachment and aversion are there. Some of the aspects around fatalism and you know, whether things are meant to happen at exactly the right time. These are a variety of different philosophical elements that resonate with me, and they change, but they consistently allow me to take myself less. It's going to sound really terrible. Take myself less seriously, but see to see in the role of observer, so I realize that I can come in and out. And when you realize that you can come in and out, you realize that you can attach to all of the energy and emotion of a situation, or you can let go. But you have the power. You do.
Mhm. Yes.
Sorry,
Yeah.
Enzo's going to
I
jump off. Whoop.
oh,
He was going to jump down from a 2 meter high. Oh, it's like, no.
and so what? Our the word's gone.
Mascot. There he
Mascot.
is.
Thank you. We couldn't see him because um yeah. So, and I think with with perspective, it's, looking at things from other people's point of view,
Mm,
and you don't know their backstories, you don't know what's going on in their life. And I think one of the things that kind of can keep us stuck in a sort of having a type of perspective is when we take things personally,
mm,
and shifting that, because it's not always about you.
mm. Yeah.
So yeah, yeah.
Well, and sometimes it's not always about them. If you
Mm,
think about the times when you've been angry, how many times is it exactly because that person's done that one thing? Or is it because you're already having a bad day? Or is it because they remind you of somebody you really had a terrible relationship with and they're just getting your full force? So when you talk about shifting perspective and shifting to the perspective of that other person, how they're experiencing it, actually sitting with your own perspective and thinking, where does this come from? Or timelines are another way of shifting perspective. In 10 years time, will this matter?
yeah, or even next week, will it matter? It's so true. Yeah, time is, we get wrapped up in that what's happening right now. It's taking that step back. I love It's a good reminder, taking that step back and, well, when will this matter? For how long will this really matter?
Yeah,
When can I laugh at this? Like you said earlier about not taking yourself too seriously.
yeah. And also, yeah, and if thinking about will this matter in 10 years time, it still can be quite focused on quite negative reactions. But you have the ability to capture and decide that this will matter. So this moment when we're walking on the beach, moment where I'm here with you and I tell you I love you, or we hold hands, and this is a really precious moment because we haven't done that for a long time. Or I want to remember this, and this moment I don't want it to end. I want it to be here in my heart for years to come. So
Mm,
it, yes, we are skilling people up and empowering you so you don't have to take the crap. But equally, there you can use these methods to capture more joy,
mm,
hold these moments true.
I love that. I love that. Which kind of takes me into the next question, which you've answered slightly, but I'm not sure if you want to add any more to it. So, we all want to achieve balance and joy. It's a very, well, most of us do, I think. It's a very common goal, but it is incredibly elusive for a lot of people. So, what are some of the practical strategies or mindset shifts? Say that when you've had a few. That you recommend for those seeking to harmonize their personal and professional lives.
Well, Jen, one of the things that I really love that you bring to the table is almost the ladder of emotions, the range of emotions that you feel. And you can't go from deep depression or despair to joy in one instance, but you can take a step to the next the next emotion up, or the next emotion up, or the next, so there's definitely that framework which says, okay, I'm feeling like a 2 today. What would it take to feel a 3? What would shift? What what would that look like? And and again, this takes the pressure off. Yes, we do want to achieve balance and joy. The only instant balance and joy that you get is on the side of a box of tea bags. It's or it's on the side of a bottle that somebody's selling to you. It's being marketed to you as an instant fix, and it's not true. But what can be true is that small incremental step. That and if you're goal orientated, you could build it in as, I'm going to notice 3 things today that I haven't seen. I'm going to look to the cracks of the pavement, and I'm going to find a weed that's creeping through, or I'm yeah, I'm going to keep an eye out for a flower, or a ladybird, or a yellow car. If I see 3 yellow cars today, I'm going to smile. You might smile. I don't know.
I think that
Um,
actually even that statement made me smile, so you don't even need to see the 3 cars.
yellow car, yellow car, yellow car. No, try saying that really quickly. but but there's there's definitely ways that you can determine that the smallest elements, the smallest shifts, will add up and will contribute to balance and joy. You can decide that you'll find amusement in the traffic jam.
Mhm.
That's quite, yeah. I repeatedly come back to traffic jams because they definitely
Trigger
are
you.
my kryptonite.
I
Yeah.
saw a really good Facebook post actually earlier talking about traffic jams, and instead of getting mad at the person that's cutting in front of you, why not let them in? Why not? And, oh, they're obviously in more of a hurry than me. There you go. It's kind of that kindness element, isn't it? So the end of the post was, if you can't find kindness, then be kindness.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that's one of the things that helps elevate how you feel. It lifts you when you're kind to somebody. I find anyway. I don't know about you, but when you're kind to somebody, it always lifts me. When I
Yeah.
smile at somebody, I say hello and they smile back, it lifts me. And it's such a
Cool.
simple strategy as well, isn't it? Sorry,
Oh,
just I
no,
wanted to
no,
add
we well, what you've recovered in that is, a really strong thing, which is around perspectives and where's the other person, and what's going on in their life, and again, this is a topic that we've covered many times, but when people are up and in your face and full of aggro, often it's got absolutely nothing to do with what you've said in that moment. But it is easy for your saboteur to step in and be triggered by it, and then for the situation to escalate, which serves no one really. So perhaps stepping back and thinking, what are you really trying to tell me? Loosen the grip.
that. Yes, loosen the grip. I love that, Claire. Yes. Is there
So
anything else?
what would you add then, Jen?
What in terms of strategies
Yeah.
to create balance and joy? My go-to is always, well, as one, gratitude we talk about, but my go-to, one of the most lovely ways that I enjoy is being out in nature, going for a walk in a forest, in the woodland, or by the beach, depending on what you need at the time. If you can, and if that's too much for you, because sometimes when you're feeling really crappy and you're like, oh, it's hard to even do that. But if you sort of say, oh, I'm just gonna go outside in the garden for 5 minutes. If I don't have a garden, I'm gonna open my window for 5 minutes and see where I can see if there's a tree around that I can see and focus on. Or I can look at the sky and the clouds. So or if that or a picture, have a favorite picture of nature. Something really simple, like you were saying, it's little micro, it doesn't have to be any big, huge gesture, but a little micro step. And nature is always my go to that will always uplift me. Or sometimes have a pan drum. I play pan drum, or I might pull a card, an oracle card. So it's finding something that's really simple, really easy for you that will lift you in that moment. It doesn't have to be some big gesture.
Oh, completely. I really do agree with you there, especially around nature. Um, and we've also talked about the importance of breathing and the healing impact of breathing. And what we discussing in that is interventions that cost no money, that rely on no one else, that anybody can achieve, um, rather than trying to set this up as a corporate well-being initiative that costs hundreds of thousands of pounds. Like, no, just empower people to be in the moment, to live in the moment, and you're there, at least
And
halfway there.
those, yeah, it's up, yeah. And those, I think corporate well-being events are really important and key, but it's looking at what can you do in that moment, isn't it?
Yeah, it's looking at what you can weave into the everyday.
Mm.
We have covered retreats in the past, and those are fantastic in terms of really a deep dive and transformation. Um, but actually, when you're looking to maintain a steady state, or just that small continuous improvement or balance, it's a slightly different set of skills that you need. And this is a great month in August to just take a foot off the pedal, just try a couple of different approaches and see what difference they make.
And slow down.
Ah,
Slow down. It's summer.
that's easier to say than it is to do.
It's a choice.
I know.
It's a choice.
The trouble
Even
is
if you've got, go
when I
on.
create when I create space, more comes in. I'm like, oh yes, come on. So yeah, don't worry, I'm not about to become a guru Claire, by any means. I'm too playful and curious a being, and follow these. So yeah, you don't have complete stop necessarily.
I'm sure you have moments where you stop. Yeah. I mean, when being mindful and meditative, that even though you're going for a walk, it's your way of stopping.
Oh yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
you are, the thoughts you are having are conscious. So when I say stop, I don't necessarily mean, I just mean slow down in terms of stop rushing around, trying to get everything done. And yes, there are days where you need to do that, but sometimes I find if we run around too quickly, rushing, I'm talking about rushing around, we
Mm,
forget things, we drop things, we bump into things, we lose things, we have accidents. So that's
yeah.
when I say just slow down, because you'll be more effective. I don't mean at a snail's pace, I just mean just being aware, because that will also help bring you balance and joy as well.
Yeah, and as you
So
said, kind of one of my favorite sayings is to slow down to speed up. And it
yes.
is by creating the space, by stepping back, by kind of going, no, I'm just going to step away from the desk for a minute, or
Mhm,
I'm just going to call someone or drop them a note to say hi, to just snap me out of this space. And then results come, or serendipities come, or
mhm,
it's just beautiful.
mm. Well, thank you very much, Claire. That was really jam packed, full of all sorts of insight. So, again, another episode to go back and listen to again and make some notes. We'd love to hear your comments. Let us know if you've enjoyed the episode, and if what's your favorite part? What did it help you see? Did it help you give you a different perspective? So until next time, don't forget to like, subscribe, and pass it on to somebody that really needs to hear this. Thanks very much. Bye.
Bye bye.